Continue to reflect on Herman Mashaba's candidacy, as well as look back at his tenure as mayor in the city of Johannesburg between 2016 and 2019 under the Democratic Alliance. Now, political analyst Professor Sethulego Matebesi weighs in. Good morning, Professor, and thank you so much for your time this morning. So as we know, Professor Mr. Mashaba has thrown in his hat again, back in the ring, gunning for the mayoral position once again. Now, what I'd like to know from you before we even talk politics, now, first and foremost, what is the state of the city of Joburg today?
Hi, good morning, Mashaba, and good morning to the viewers. Very interesting time. We're talking about a city, actually very shockingly, that is, and if you look at the economy of Africa, Johannesburg, the city of Joburg, Johannesburg itself is the economic hub of Africa. But yet, if you look at local governance, it is, I can only use, it seems as if entrenched interests have been placed at the highest level. It's such a key priority for the local leaders, and that has created a very chaotic local governance situation in the city of Joburg.
Now, Mashaba says he's stepping back into the ring to fight corruption, incompetence, and decline. When a former mayor says he has unfinished business, is that a sign of accountability or an admission that he left the job incomplete?
Yeah, well, it's going to be very difficult for anyone within a 5-year term to be able to turn around, some of the key challenges that the city of Joburg is facing. But nonetheless, I think it's right in terms of, and I've heard my colleague speaking about illegal immigration and all that. and he's now using this whole narrative or metaphor of entering the boxing ring. And I think it tries to demonstrate resilience and perhaps commitment. But this we've seen before from all candidates, and when they're supposed to do the work. And it's not sometimes coming from the one who's occupying this hot seat, but it's whether he's going to get all the support from the other political parties, because South Africa, unfortunately, the political landscape at local government level is bedeviled by chaotic coalition politics, and it will be very interesting to see how he will be able to navigate around that particular challenge. But before that, you will also be facing a Helen Zille, and that's where I think some of his challenges will come, even before he hopefully occupy that position.
And Professor, before we dive deeper, I want us to look back to 2016, between 2016 and 2019. What did Herman Mashaba actually deliver for Johannesburg? Just walk us through his track record.
No, in terms of that, we could see there has been a stabilization of the city's, at least the governance of finances and a bit of accountability. There was much more transparency about the projects and all that. And as we've already alluded to, he advanced this whole notion to clean the city. There was a concerted effort to take actions against what we can describe as a lawless city, a city where it seems as if the residents and the citizens are a law unto themselves. And those are some of the things that he tried to at least stabilize in terms of crime around the city.
And I mean, Professor, we're living in an era of political comebacks and globally leaders returning from defeat or disgrace and winning again. Is Mashaba's return part of that global pattern? And if so, what does that pattern tell us about what voters are really hungry for right now?
No, it also tells you about the internal dynamics of any organization at a time. When you've got a leader who comes back, that tells you that within the period of 10, I mean, we're talking about 2016, that's quite a long time ago, or, and the question is, over that decade or so, did ActionSA not was it not able to produce a leader who can take over? So that also in itself tells you ActionSA wants to field its strongest candidate, and the current strong candidate or strongest candidate is the leader of the party, Herman Mashaba, a shrewd businessman and who has, I would say, perhaps intimate knowledge about the city and perhaps some of the challenges. Yes, it is a global trend, and especially if you've got a very strong, charismatic leader, people will always go to the leader when they are facing a challenge like this, where everyone is battling for the soul of the city of Joburg.
Now, speaking of challenges, Professor, Johannesburg's problems aren't just political, as you've also alluded. They are also deeply technical. Water infrastructure, electricity distribution, urban planning, financial management. Does Mashaba surround himself with the kind of expertise that a city of this magnitude requires?
It's going to be very difficult, and I mean, he will take the decisions. Now, let's even start with, say, Herman Mashaba, and I can predict now, there's no way that ActionSA will get an outright majority. So if Herman Mashaba wants to become the mayor of Joburg, he will have to do that with the support of others, and that's where the problem starts. In South Africa, we've got a huge problem. And it seems as if our leaders are not listening to that. They are not heeding the lessons that our political environment have been providing us, our political landscape. What is going to happen? There will be a jockeying for positions from these oppositions, the one who have played kingmakers, and they will want to be rewarded, and you know, MMC positions and all that. And that's where the problem comes from, because I don't think these mayors, any one of them, had control over their MMCs, and that's where the problem comes from, where some of these MMC leaders become also yet once again a law unto themselves in terms of just ensuring and you know, complying with basic principles of accountability, and perhaps just taking the interest of the citizens at heart.
At the ActionSA Johannesburg mayoral launch, we saw Jacinta Ngobese of the March and March movement. She was given a platform by the party, and that's not a casual decision, because parties do not share stages by accident. Do you think this was a strategic move by ActionSA ahead of the local government elections?
Not only a strategic move, I strongly believe that there has been behind the scenes discussions to say, hey, we are already extending an olive branch to you, come on board. And as you've correctly stated, we are now accustomed to what the African National Congress is doing. Each time they've got an event, their alliance partners will come and share key messages during any event. And this, for me, tells me that there has been a lot of deliberations, and we should not be surprised if this particular organizations comes and support ActionSA during the local government elections.
And also, Ngobese brings a KwaZulu-Natal dimension to this conversation. KZN is one of the most critical and contested political battlegrounds in the country. So how strong is ActionSA currently in KZN, and could recruiting someone like Ngobese significantly shift the party's influence in the province?
It's very important, and it's also, as you've indicated, a strategic move, because you also need to get your you had to have a national footprint, and we've seen how some parties will perhaps just put their cookie in one jar, perhaps in just focusing in one locality, one province. And in the long term, I think such kind of relationships is an investment for ActionSA, because if you look at the political landscape in KwaZulu-Natal, you've got an IFP and many other parties. There also, I think there's an opportunity for coalition and politics, and I think that's the foresight, perhaps the vision that Herman Mashaba and his leadership have to say, hey, it's about time that we expand our footprint, and KwaZulu-Natal is definitely one key province, even at local government level.
Now, Helen Zille is the only other competitor in this ring, as Herman Mashaba has metaphored it. Now, they're both coming from the DA, essentially. What are your thoughts around this? Well,
Yeah, it's going to be
yeah.
very interesting, and as I've already indicated, this combative approach of Herman Mashaba for me already gives us a little glimpse into what is going to happen, and we should not actually be surprised for a tit for tat kind of electioneering when the campaigns do kick off. It's going to be very interesting, but fact of the matter is, after everything the dust settles, who between them will emerge, and will they be able to take this glorious city out of the quagmire that this city is currently facing?
Professor, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
That was political analyst Professor Sethulego Matebesi.